Hello everyone, in today's episode we're going to go through 10 ways of exiting bad habits. Hello everyone, today I want to talking about quitting habits, in particular quitting those repeating cycles, those habits that continually self-sabotage you. I'm going to give you 10 simple ways to destroy those patterns and reinvigorate and renew yourself with better, more helpful patterns that will help you reach your goals and find your true self. So as always, I'm going to begin with a quote on the subject, and that quote is, "Your attachment to unhealthy people and bad habits, which offer you no real control, is why you're spiritually dying and living a life out of balance, shun order." It can be that simple. Just being attached to unhealthy media, unhealthy diets, unhealthy people means that you really stand no chance of becoming your true self and becoming happy. There are layers and layers and layers of dirt on top of you that really need to be shed before you can even begin your journey. So, habits come in many forms and many cycles, and our action or our doing or the way we go through the world is through action and habit. And we can choose two vehicles: selfless habits, which are about love, which are about looking after ourselves and others, or habits about attachment and gain, habits that help us make more money, habits that help us, get higher up the career ladder. Now, with the first level of habits, which are selfless, which are either about improving yourself, therefore improving others, really are ones that are sustainable and also give you the advantage of making you a happy person as you follow them along. Those other habits installed to us by capitalism, which is acquire more, find more ways to acquire more, get more habits to acquire more, while in the moment can seem great, ultimately have the seeds of their own destruction, which is unfulfillment and a loss of self. So we all know what our bad habits are, and if we don't, just ask your best friend honestly, because they'll be able to tell you. So how do we get rid of these bad habits? It could be as simple as smoking, which is really the habit of not loving yourself. It could be the habit of avoiding social situations, which once again is about not being able to be selfless and enjoy time with other people. So one of the great quotes on this subject is by Alain de Botton, which is, "The best cure for one's bad tendencies is to see them in action in another person." And I have to say, this is so true. When I look back on what really annoyed me about individuals in my past, if I'm going to be completely honest, they were also manifest in me. When I would call someone out for not telling the truth and being a liar, the reality is that at some level I knew that I wasn't being completely honest with myself and others, and therefore I was projecting that on other people. So if you are struggling to find out what habits you need to change, think about what habits you really don't like in other people, and maybe we can find the seeds of those through this video. So number one, how to change these habits: have a big motivation. For me, it's about finding my true self and becoming the best version of myself. That's a big motivation, and that big motivation generally overrides things like, "Oh, well, a bit too tired to go to the gym today." Well, being too tired versus wanting to find my true self is much more motivating, so it gets me over the edge. 2, make a big commitment. You may say, it could be as simple as, "I'm committing myself to becoming the best version of me every single day." Now that's a huge commitment, and once you have that commitment, you can then overcome little triggers or little problems that get in the way. Number 3, be aware of your triggers. You are your environment. Our ego, our id, says that we are this, this group of cells in our body. It's not even our cells. A lot of them are, flora and fauna, bacterial microbes. But we say this is us, and we don't realize that this is not us. We are everything around us. Everything we interact with at some level becomes us. And those triggers in your environment, which might be as simple as leaving a lighter in the house when you're trying to quit smoking, or the trigger of knowing that every time you go into a bar, you're going to start to feel the need to drink when you're trying to drink less. Triggers are really important, and studies show conclusively that if you change your environment, for example, put running shoes under your bed every single morning, you will find it that much easier to remove those triggers from your life. And in fact, you can use positive triggers like putting running shoes under your bed as a way of manipulating your environment to get success. Number 4, know what need this habit is meeting. Every habit that you have right now, good or bad, is meeting a need. An example would be, quite often people like to be alone, so a cigarette for them is an opportunity to get out of a social situation or do something with their hands when they feel awkward. So what's the real need that habit's meeting? Because you need to find a way to address that. For example, if smoking is a great way for you to deal with your social anxiety. Find another way of dealing with that, whether it's coping mechanisms, breathing, whether it's focusing on the other person's words, becoming mindful. Replacing that habit with something that's more meaningful, that will take you closer to your best version of yourself, is a key way to replacing and overcoming habits. Once you know what that habit is meaning, for example, if it's social anxiety with cigarettes, have a replacement habit for each trigger. So an example would be, for me, every time I go to pick up my phone, to check whatever's going on in the world, I'll put my phone down. So basically the way it works is whenever I want to check my phone, I have to delay it one time, and then when I think about checking my phone again, I can go check it, as long as it's a few minutes later. And that is the habit replacement. The habit used to be picking up my phone and getting lost in Instagram and Facebook for maybe hours. Now the habit is to pick up the phone and put it back down, and then come back to it if that feeling comes back. And the beauty is that cuts my cell phone usage by 50% immediately. Number 6, watch the urges and delay. A classic is feeling like eating when you've already eaten. I'll notice that, and I'll either drink some water, or I'll just notice that I'm feeling a bit hungry, and that's okay. We don't need to chase down every single desire. In fact, we see what happens with people who do that. They become obese, sickly, and ultimately they die. So whenever you have that urge, and this is a huge power, it's a superpower once you really understand it, that the urge is just an urge, but you're in control. You are the awareness, you're the consciousness, and the urge will go. It's not going to be here forever. You're not going to be desperately hungry forever. You will eat again, but right now is not the time. Number 7, do the new habit every time the trigger happens. A great way of practicing habit replacement is to make sure that every time you feel the urge to do the old habit, that you use that as an opportunity to practice a new habit. For me, when I'm practicing my habit of patience, I find that when I'm stuck in a queue or a line or in traffic, I just say to myself immediately, time to practice mindfulness and patience. And I'm starting to get excited by those situations rather than frustrated, because I see there's an opportunity to practice. Number 8, be aware of your thinking. Those crazy, manipulative, circling thoughts, that a lot of them have been in your head since you were a kid, be aware of that thinking. That thinking does not always contribute to the current moment. What's happening, unfolding in the current moment is all that matters. The physical reality of it. What you think of it is not important right now. Do, act spontaneously, come from your true center, and be aware that your thinking can undo you very quickly. Number 9, quit gradually. There's 2 ways to do it. There's cold turkey and there's gradually. However, I fundamentally believe once you've made the decision, that was the most powerful part. Now, what happens after the decision is that you'll suffer, you'll relapse, you'll find some excuses, but ultimately the decision was the most powerful tool. So once you make the decision, pat yourself on the back, know that it's going to take a while, and get on with the process. And finally, learn from your mistakes. We have all, since childhood, tried to undo bad patterns. Whether it was sucking on your thumb or sucking on a dummy, you've successfully defeated old habits of the past. As we get older, we like to see our habits as character quirks or traits, but the reality is a lot of them are holding you back. Think about the habits in your life, think about how you can replace them, and think about how you can use the system to not only get rid of your old habits, but replace them with ones that create health and vitality within you and others. Definitely something to think about. I can't wait to see you till tomorrow. Until then, replace those habits and I'll see you. Bye.